Welcome in, everyone. We're diving deep today into the world of healing stories,
Oh, I love this.
using excerpts from 101 Healing Stories for Children and Teens, using metaphors in therapy
Yeah,
by George W. Burns.
it's a good one.
It is. It's packed with useful stuff. So think of this as us building a storytelling toolkit together.
Okay.
We'll break down some of the best techniques,
Yeah.
and you'll leave with practical tips on using them, whether you're a therapist or just interested in the power of stories.
That's right. Anyone can benefit from this.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be like a born storyteller to make this work.
Exactly. And the book really emphasizes that you can learn this. It's
Mhm.
not like some magical talent.
It starts with a really cool story about Jacob Grimm.
Oh, yeah, from the Brothers Grimm.
Yes. As a kid, he was told Snow White to distract him during a medical procedure.
Oh, wow.
And some believe that experience is what led him to become so passionate about storytelling his whole life.
That's amazing. It shows you how stories can be so much more than just entertainment.
It really does.
They can be genuinely therapeutic.
And the book highlights how stories can even teach values, like in the Bhutanese story of the Four Faithful Friends.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's huge in their culture.
Huh. Like a national tale.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. Stories can even be used for discipline.
Oh, interesting.
Think about Santa Claus.
The classic reward or punishment system.
Yeah. But it's all wrapped up in a really engaging story.
That's true. It's not just a straight do this, get that kind of thing.
Right. There's a whole world built around it, which makes it stick.
And the book goes even further, talking about how stories can help kids overcome challenges.
There's a great example about Jessica, a young girl who had selective mutism.
Wow, so she didn't speak.
Right. But through carefully crafted stories, she was able to find her voice again.
That's powerful. It makes you realize how much of an impact stories have on a child's development.
It's not just passing time, it's empowering.
Exactly.
And the book makes it clear being a good storyteller isn't some mystical thing. It's a skill, like riding a bike.
Okay, so no more excuses about not being a natural storyteller.
Yeah.
We can all learn.
Yeah.
But where do we begin? What does the book say?
Well, it challenges us to find the story potential even in everyday stuff.
Even the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Is that where the Pink Floyd story comes in? The one about the wall as hold music
That's the one.
for the Department of Education?
Yep. It's funny, but it proves a point. Any experience can be a story with the right framing.
I like that. It's very liberating.
Right. We don't have to wait for something big to happen.
Inspiration can come from anywhere.
Exactly. The book then gets into specific techniques, starting with adaptability,
Adaptability.
meaning you tailor your story to who you're talking to.
So not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. Think about the individual.
But how do we do that in practice?
Let's say you're working with a child who struggles with anger.
Okay.
Instead of a generic story about controlling emotions, adapt it.
Okay.
What do they like? Dinosaurs.
Ah, so tell a story about a T-Rex learning to manage its roars.
Exactly. Take a universal theme and make it personal.
That makes sense.
And then there's voice modulation, matching your delivery to what the story is about.
Oh, are we going to do voice exercises? I'm not sure I'm ready.
Maybe another time. But it's not about putting on a show.
So just being authentic.
Yeah, just use your voice to really
Yeah.
convey those emotions and nuances.
Got it. So we've got the power of stories, tailoring them, and some techniques to work on.
There's one more: intonation. It can completely change what a sentence means.
Intonation, that's a good one to practice.
Right. Just a little shift in emphasis can change everything.
It can. The book says all these skills can be improved with practice.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know.
So we've covered the basics. Now let's point into how to actually use metaphors in therapy.
All right, let's do it.
Let's dive in.
Okay, so we've talked about some storytelling techniques, but how do we use them for metaphors in therapy? What does that even mean, stories working on a symbolic level?
Yeah, it's like, think of it as stories that help kids work through things, but indirectly. Like they're solving a puzzle, but the puzzle pieces are parts of a story.
That's a good way to put it. So instead of facing the problem head on,
Right.
they explore it safely through the story.
Exactly. And the book has some really creative examples.
Oh, like what?
One that I really liked was using toys and games as metaphors.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's this story about a boy with anxiety,
Okay.
and the therapist uses the idea of a soccer coach
Okay.
to help him manage his fears.
Toys as metaphors, that's clever. They're already a big part of a kid's world.
Right. But what if a kid isn't into typical toys?
Yeah, good point. You have to adapt.
Exactly, like we talked about before.
So you could use their favorite video game or a book character or something.
Anything they connect with. The key is to use what works for them.
Makes sense. Meet them where they are.
The book also talks about using humor.
Oh, really?
There's this character, Mr. Grumblebum, and a grumpy genie.
I bet kids love
They
those.
do.
Yep.
It creates this safe, comfortable space.
But is it okay to use humor with serious topics?
The book addresses that directly. It's not about making light of the situation.
Okay.
It's more about helping kids relax and open up.
So laughter can be a tool.
Exactly. The book also mentions experiential metaphors.
Experiential metaphors, what are those?
It's like creating experiences that reflect the child's challenges.
Oh, okay.
There's a step-by-step guide for helping Dolly rebuild her walls.
Doll.
It's a metaphor for resilience and boundary.
So it's like acting out the problem and solution?
Yeah, it's more hands-on. But the book stresses being sensitive and going at the child's pace.
Right, you don't want to overwhelm them.
And because they're participating, they feel more in control.
That's great. It's about giving them tools, not just answers.
Exactly. The book also encourages us to create our own healing stories.
So it's not just about using pre-written ones.
Right. The examples are there to inspire you.
So we can tailor them to each kid's needs.
Exactly. It can feel a bit daunting, but the book gives some helpful tips.
Oh, like what?
One of the most important is matching the age and gender.
That makes sense. A story for a 5-year-old boy might not work for a 10-year-old girl.
Right. It also talks about an outcome-oriented approach,
What does that mean?
focusing on where the child wants to go.
Not just on the problem.
Exactly. You build a story that leads them toward something positive.
So instead of dwelling on their fear of the dark,
Yeah,
you tell a story where they conquer it.
exactly. Shift the focus.
And to make the stories even better, the book says to use research.
Yes. There's a great example using dinosaurs to teach CBT principles,
CBT.
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Dinosaurs and therapy. That's amazing.
It's taking those evidence-based techniques and making them fun.
And where do we find ideas for these stories?
Everywhere. Books, movies, even your own life experiences.
Sounds like it's all about using our imagination.
Exactly. And anyone can do that.
Now, the book also talks about getting parents involved, right?
Yes. It explains that how a parent acts can really affect their child's behavior.
That makes sense. But how does the book suggest we bring parents into the process?
It suggests that parents can benefit from metaphor therapy too.
Really?
There's an example using bedwetting.
Oh.
It shows how a story can help parents understand their child's anxiety.
So we're not just working with the child.
Right, we're giving the parents tools to help too.
What if a parent isn't open to this idea?
That's where adaptability comes in again.
We have to meet them where they are too.
Exactly. Maybe start with a simple story to illustrate the concept.
So finding the right approach for everyone, the child and the parent.
Right. And there's that story about PETA and the teddy bear.
Oh, the one about caring for something outside ourselves.
Yes. It shows that sometimes helping others can help us grow too.
It's like a ripple effect.
I like that.
And in the end, the book leaves us with this image of families sharing stories together,
Around the kitchen table.
reconnecting and learning.
It's a powerful image.
It really is. It shows how stories can bring people together.
And as we wrap up our discussion on using metaphors in therapy, I think what's really great about this book is it takes away that mystery around using metaphors in therapy.
Yeah.
The big takeaway is that these are tools anyone can use.
Exactly.
You know, whether you're a therapist with years of experience
Mhm.
or a parent just starting out,
Yeah.
you can do this.
You have the power to create these stories.
Mm.
It's like we've been saying, you don't need to be a storytelling expert.
Yeah, you don't.
Just be willing to learn and give it a shot.
And to really help you do that, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
Think of a challenge you or a child in your life has dealt with recently.
Okay.
Could a story give you a fresh perspective? What kind of story would it be?
That's a great way to encourage everyone to use these ideas.
Right. It's about putting it into practice.
And remember, we've only just touched on what this book has to offer.
Yeah, there's so much more in there.
So we really encourage you to check it out.
See what speaks to you.
Maybe focus on a specific kind of story or problem that you connect with.
It's like we've given you the map and the compass.
And now it's time to explore.
Go on your own adventure with storytelling.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a sense of hope and possibility.
These stories, they have the power to heal,
To
to inspire.
So go out there and tell them.